So thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to be hosting this workshop on karma. We're going to look at karma in a different way today, and our intention is really to help you achieve an experience where within yourself you can become aware of your own karmas and karmic tendencies and to clear them. There's a lot of literature and teachings out there about karma itself, and we thought that focusing on giving you an experience was really important. So that's the intention with this workshop.
So we're going to start by talking about what karma is and is not. We're going to talk about how to identify what your karmas are, and then we're actually going to work on clearing one karma, or at least as much as we possibly can of that karma.
Yeah, and we'll give you different options of different techniques that we have found to be quite effective in clearing karma, and then we'll tell you how do you know that you've cleared your karmas.
We'll help you
how to know.
Yeah. To measure your progress.
Yeah.
Because especially when the karmas are, thank you, when the karmas are challenging, sometimes it can feel like we're not getting anywhere and we're stuck. And it's really important to be able to actually recognize when you are making progress and to celebrate that and count that.
Yeah. So before we begin, we're going to start with a little practice. We'd like to say thank you to our wonderful spiritual teacher, John Jones. And we'd also like to say thank you to Insight Timer for allowing us to use their platform for these workshops. And if you are happy with the workshop, and if you can, please give a donation for our work and also for Insight Timer. So we're going to start with a little practice to help us tune into our intention. The intention today is to understand our karmas, to heal them, to transcend them, and to find peace within ourselves. So if you'll close your eyes, and if you'll tune into your intention today, you've come to this workshop to learn about karma and how to resolve it. And as you connect to your intention, as you relax into your body, as you bring this intention into your body, having the experience right now of understanding, of becoming aware and clearing any negative karma that is influencing you in your life right now. And if right now you can't feel it, it's not something tangible for you, if you'll use your mind to go deeper until you actually feel it, until you connect with that karma. Right now it might be just a concept. Oh, maybe I have a karma in this in my life, or with that in my life. And just let yourself feel that and affirm by repeating the statement with me your choice to understand and to resolve your karma. So if you'll say, I choose to understand and resolve any karma that's currently influencing me right now.
I choose to understand and resolve any karma that's influencing me right now.
And feel that. Feel that intention. Feel that choice. In your mind, in your emotions, in your breath, in your body, in your whole being. What does it feel like to choose to consciously understand, become aware of, and resolve any karma that's influencing you? Wonderful. So, love, if you want to begin.
It's okay to cry. To answer the question, why am I crying? It's just karma's processing, and it's okay.
Yeah, and sometimes when we affirm an intention that we have, we can feel the pain of not having been aligned maybe with that intention, or the pain of our own of our karmas, and realizing that how much hurt and suffering we've experienced through them. So there can be a liberation of energy.
It can also be very clearing to say, I choose to understand and resolve my karma. That's a beautiful thing to choose, and it is a process of self-love, and that can lead to a lot of emotions processing. So let's start with a story. Stories can help us so much. And yes, it is also about taking ownership of our behavior, responding to a comment. Wonderful. And so here's a story a little bit about behavior, and certainly a story that if it was happening to you, you might cry at times. And put yourself in this position. Obviously, most of you are not farmers, and this is a story of a farmer. Today, though, we still work for bread, and we still have our homes. Oh, there we go. We have a farmer in here. Wonderful. Welcome. That's beautiful. So it's the story of a wise old farmer who lived on a farm with his son. And one day a beautiful white horse, a white mare, a wild horse, strolled onto their farm. And they only had one other horse, and so this was huge for them. The horse was very valuable, and these farmers lived in a small village, and to have two horses was really a blessing. And so that evening, when the villagers heard about this occurrence, this new horse that this wise old farmer and his son have, they all gathered and they said, "Oh my goodness, what a great fortune! How lucky you are! How good that this has happened to you!" And the wise old farmer, just gently smiling, he looked at them and he said, thank you. Who's to say whether it's good or bad?" And gently smiling, continued with his day. And then the next day, the son was taming that new wild horse. And in so doing, fell off the horse and broke both legs. And then the villagers gathered that evening again, and when they heard the news, they said, "Oh my gosh, what terrible misfortune, what a curse that has befallen on you. How are you gonna tend to your farm without your son? How are you gonna put food on the table?" And the wise old farmer, still calm, still smiling, said, thank you for your concerns. And who's to say whether it's good or bad?" And then the next day, and at that point, many of us would be very upset and crying. And the next day, the local army came to town. They came to the village. The army of the nearby city came to the village and to forcefully recruit all the young men that could be taken off as soldiers to war, to take them as soldiers. And the only young man that was left behind was the wise old farmer's son, who had broken both legs. And so, again, the villagers gathered, and most of them said, "Oh my God, how lucky you are, how fortunate! All of the young men have been taken to war, and the only one left behind is your son. How lucky you are." And the wise old farmer said, thank you, and many blessings to your young men and children and sons that have gone off to war. And the wise old farmer looked in the crowd and saw in the eyes of some people who were learning, who had started to catch on to this process of judging and being afraid of karmas, of life events as they arise. And he smiled at everyone. The wise old farmer gently smiled at everyone and held the gaze of a few people or two who understood. And the wise old farmer said again, who's to say whether it's good or bad? And looked out over the fields, looked out over the people, looked out over the two horses, and smiled and went on with his day. So this story is a beautiful story because it paints a picture. It gives us a taste of how life can be. Even in today's world with technology and how fast it moves, we can see life as a process of karma without seeing any particular moment as bad or good for that matter. And when we see a moment as bad, it's kind of the other side of the same coin as good. When we see a moment as good, it's kind of the other side of the same coin as bad. And when we look at life and karma and experiences and things that happen in this way, we get on a roller coaster of good and bad and good and bad and good and bad. And that is suffering. What suffering is not is perhaps the wise old farmer who's gently at peace, who's gently loving all things and all beings, and who has clarity and insight and awareness
and equanimity.
And if we live like that, then rather than getting caught up in, oh my God, it's so bad that this happened, I hate that this happened, I feel guilty that this happened, I feel ashamed that this happened, this shouldn't have happened, I shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that. All of those thoughts and negative emotions and suffering that gets in the way, that clouds our wisdom and discernment, can clear, and we can actually focus on the best path forward in each moment. And we can have peace throughout the whole process. The whole process. And just that story is so special because it's a metaphor for how we can receive and experience everything in life. And at the end of the day, whether we choose to be like the villagers and say, oh, it's so terrible, oh, it's so great, oh, it's so terrible, oh, it's so great, or whether we choose to be like the wise old farmer, it's our choice.
And that choice, that perspective, that attitude is actually part of the process of resolving karma.
It is, and there's going to be times where you don't feel capable of being like the wise old farmer. You might try, you might get upset with yourself for feeling the way you feel, for feeling upset, for feeling angry, for feeling like the villagers. And if you can even relate to that, if you do feel like the villagers one day and you're upset and you're angry, that's okay too. Who's to say whether that's good or bad? It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be anxious and stressed. It's all part of the process. Who's to say whether it's good or bad? So do you see, it's not absolute, it's not black and white, it's a fine line. It's a razor's edge. It's the middle way. And with that consistent intention in your life, you can cultivate that consistent inner peace and wisdom of the farmer. And I apologize, I don't know who wrote that. We heard it from a teacher once, and then we found it in a book again.
Yeah, I believe it's Wisdoms of Buddhism or something like that. It's like old stories. There's multiple of them of the same nature that are essentially, I think it's a children's book actually, to help children understand wisdom and and be able to feel peace and more joy in their hearts. So
And thank you for the generous donation, and thank you for your comment. Yes, it's very good to give ourselves permission to be ourselves and feel what we feel and accept whatever we feel. To literally always accept ourselves.
And like I was saying earlier on, that is the process also of resolution of karma. If you feel what you feel and you accept whatever you're feeling, you are resolving any karmas associated with self-judgment or self-punishment, self-criticism. So it's very helpful. It changes your energy. It shifts your energy. And that is the resolution of karmas, because the karmas are, they're stored as energy, and we experience them in the form of thoughts, in the forms of feelings, emotions, habits, tendencies, aversions, attachments. And so when we change the energy, those things, the thoughts, the emotions, the different things that come as a result of the energy that is stored as a result of the karmas can be liberated, allowing us to experience less negative thoughts, less negative emotions, less aversions, less attachments to things, less conflict.
More freedom, more inner peace, more clarity, more consciousness, more love.
And also to end the cycle of accumulating karmas. Because when we operate from prior karmas, we continue to essentially accumulate misunderstandings about reality, about what is, and that leads to more karma. So I'll give an example of that in let's say, a modern story. And that story is basically, imagine someone going to an interview. And let's imagine that in that process of interview, there's influences in their capacity to communicate because of conditioning from childhood, because maybe it's Mercury retrograde, if you believe in the influence of the planets. And so it's affecting their throat chakra. And they've had the tendency to maybe not feel comfortable speaking their truth. And so they go to this interview, and they feel like the interview doesn't go well. They don't get the job. And now already there was influence from past karmas that led to this situation. And now they make a recording. They say, oh, well, I didn't get the job because I'm not good enough. That's just why it happened. If I was good enough, then I would have gotten the job. So now they make this recording. They record this belief that the reason why they didn't get the job is because they're not good enough. And then, of course, now that they've recorded that, that's going to show up in other situations. So that's the karma. Now they're going to go to another interview feeling like, well, I'm not good enough. How am I going to get the job? I didn't do well in the past interview because I'm not good enough. So how am I going to get the job now? So now they feel insecure, and it's difficult for them to communicate. And then because they feel like they're not good enough, they don't even look for positions that they really want. They think, well, I'm not good enough for that, so I'm just gonna, fall back on a job that I feel like maybe I can be good enough in this one. That's not the one that I want because I'm not good enough, etc., etc. So one karma, that moment where we record that misunderstanding about reality, about what is now starting to infiltrate and to echo into our lives, and to repeat experience after experience. And so when we choose in those moments where we make statements and we create beliefs about ourselves or others or reality, when we choose in those moments to become aware that this is just an imagining, this is just like something that we fear essentially, and we choose to release it, then we don't have to leave out that karma. We don't have to go through that cycle of not feeling insecure in the next interview, and then not going for the job that we want, and then continuing to accumulate misunderstandings, karma, about ourselves and reality.
And then those karmas don't ripple into other areas of life. Like if someone feels uncomfortable and afraid in an interview of not being good enough, might that then affect how they feel when they go on a first date? And then might that affect their love life and their relationships? And so karmas have this way of becoming apparent to us in different areas. And it is through this process of affecting us, in essence, in uncomfortable ways, limiting us in uncomfortable ways, that we then become aware of the karma. If it didn't affect us that way, how would we become aware of it?
Yeah.
If it didn't create limitation and discomfort, how would we be motivated to change it?
Exactly. So it's not a punishment. It's not payback. Karma is not. It's not about, oh, you did something wrong, so now you're going to have to pay for it. Like there's, in the collective consciousness, there's a lot of association with karma is bad or wrong, or karma is a B. and it's not so. Actually, karma is a very loving and conscious process that supports our evolution, our growth, our understanding. And when we can see it in that way, in the midst of triggering, in the midst of pain, in the midst of emotional charge, then we can really reap the benefit of the karmic cycle and understanding it, and then evolving out of it completely.
Thank you for your love. Karmas are sticky. They're sticky on purpose. If you could take the karma off, because it's not sticky, if it wasn't sticky, you could just take it off without learning what it was there to teach you, then it wouldn't be serving its purpose. Then humanity wouldn't have the mechanism for evolution that karma is. And that's what karma is. If you wanted to say, what is karma exactly? It is a mechanism to help us all evolve and to guide us all individually and collectively in our process of evolution. I'll give you a great example. Karma is definitely not bad. Thank you for adding that. Karma is actually a wonderful thing. If without karma, then we might just be able to keep polluting this world without consequence until we live in a world filled with trash.
Or until the species disappears, or the planet disappears, is destroyed.
Thank you. We love you too. And so that wouldn't be great, would it, if we just continued to pollute until the planet was destroyed? How important now that we're learning that as we, have gone through the Industrial Revolution and the Technology Revolution, and now there's mass customization, as our teacher John Jones has shared with us about how you can get, a desk in 100 different colors, in 100 different shapes. You can get a shirt in 1,000 different colors, in 1,000 different shapes. You can get a car with 1,000 different specs and things like that, and a computer. How many different things do we have? Like how many different water bottles are there? How many different mattresses? So as we produce and consume as a species, and we're not careful with how we treat the world, how we treat the earth, and how we treat species in our ecosystems.
And the implications of each one of our choices and actions.
Those karmas are going to show us that, hey, There's implications to your choices. There's implications to your actions, and it's going to teach us that wherever you get from, wherever you gain from, it's good to give back to. It's good to keep balance. It's good to, if you're going to take metals from the earth, it's good to maintain a balance with the earth. If you're going to take oil from the earth, it's good to do that with balance. And in turn, that's not just going to teach us how to keep our earth habitable, survivable, livable. It's also teaching us how to do that in all areas of life, in relationship, in business. If we take from customers, it's important to give back in balance. In relationship, if we receive from a partner, it's important to give back in balance. And karma is teaching us that constantly.
So it's helping us see where our choices are maybe not balanced, where it's driven, for instance, by a misapprehension. In the same way that someone can record the belief, I'm not good enough, someone can record the belief that there's not enough, that there's lack. And then that can lead to greed, to wanting more and more, wanting, like the process that Dexter was describing of having all these permutations of the same object in so many different variations. Well, that can be a process of endless feeding where we want more and more and more without realizing, well, is this really serving us? Is this really sustainable for the planet? Are we putting our energy, our intention in a direction that is going to bring harmony and peace to the world and joy and support love and the continuation of our species and other species, because we are an ecosystem. And it's very important that we honor all species so that we can continue to live in an ecosystem where everything remains in balance, because our existence depends on other living things and on the planet. And so karma is part of that process of helping us become conscious and aware of what we do, why we do it, and the implications. And it's, again, not a punishment. And when we can see it like that and embrace it and invite it in that way, then instead of being afraid of karma, of our negative karmas when they bubble up, we can be in a state of gratitude. We can feel good about the process of karma. And that changes a lot, because if you're not afraid of something, of your karma, for instance, it's going to allow you to stay consciously aware of what karma truly is and how to navigate it, how to manage it, and how to resolve it. And then you'll be free permanently from it, which is a wonderful thing. When we free ourselves from a karma, let's say, for instance, someone believed they were not good enough, and that had implications on so many different areas in their life, and kind of colored, right, what is. It created a lens. Well, once they resolve that karma, life is going to feel so much better. So I don't know if anyone here in this workshop has for instance, the belief, oh, I'm not good enough in certain area of your life, that said, imagine what it would feel like not to feel that ever. For that thought never to enter your mind. That when anything happens, that it means I'm not good enough.
If you were to be free of that, or some variation of that. I don't have enough of this. What if that karma was clear?
Or people are bad. There are so many different things that we create mentally that we imagine to be true, and then we experience them.
So I'd like to address a question, and I'm going to read it out loud. If we have had a relationship that was difficult, how do we understand that in terms of karma? That's a great, great question. And if you define difficult, what it means to you, had a relationship that was difficult, in which ways was it difficult? There you will find the karmas.
Yeah, because difficult can be different for different individuals. So for someone it can mean one thing, it was difficult because of this, because it brought this up for me. or if it was difficult because of something else that it brought up for me.
And that's karma is karma is very intelligent, and it's unique to every one of us, and it serves us. So, like, for example, if you have a partner who's an alcoholic, just a bit of an extreme example maybe, although common. It's common. Alcoholism is common. And if you have a partner who's an alcoholic, you might want to say, well, that's their karma, not mine. Well, guess what? Your karma is being in a relationship with an alcoholic, and whatever that brings up in you. Say your partner was a narcissist. You'd say, oh, well, that's his karma. I mean, he's a narcissist, or she's a narcissist. Well, your karma is to feel like you're in a relationship with a narcissist and learn how to work through that.
Yeah.
Ideally, and we recommend this as your intention, if you want, that your intention be that you work through all of your karmas in alignment with your highest and best good and the highest and best good of all.
So, for instance, to take an example in terms of either someone being with in a relationship with a narcissist, or someone who is addicted to alcohol, well, that can bring up feelings of being powerless, being victimized in a relationship. Those are common ones. And so if there are any recordings in your system of being victimized or being powerless to change the situation, that situation can help you to clear that, and then to choose how to navigate the situation. Whether you stay in a relationship or not is not relevant here. It's really about first resolving the emotions that it brings up in you, your own karmas, and then being at peace, making a conscious choice as to what is in your highest and best good once you've worked with the energy of the emotions.
A few examples of how to work through karma. We've helped a client, actually several clients with this, that they were men, 20s, 30s, 40s, who were afraid of commitment in relationship, and would date and not commit, and they were unhappy, and they were still addicted to the party lifestyle, to having sex with women and things like that, and they were unhappy. And then they would find a relationship that could be a match, and rather than committing, they would move on and move on and move on and continue staying unhappy. That's a karma. The addiction to dating and sex and the fear of commitment is a karma. And so one such person started working with us, and they had found a relationship, and together, we discussed whether it was a relationship that would be in their highest and best good, and consciously, intellectually, and when they really focused in their heart, they could feel, yes, this relationship is in my highest and best good. But they still had so many feelings of wanting to not commit, of being afraid of committing, and of wanting to, keep meeting new women and things like that. And so they, in essence, had to commit to the relationship and live with those unmet desires for a while. To face those unmet desires, to discover what are the fears that are causing me to desire to keep dating, and what are the fears that are causing me to be so afraid of committing. And in that process, by introspecting, by observing themselves, observing their thoughts, observing their desires, observing their emotions, which are all reflections of karma, they were able to understand their core motivations. They were able to feel the fears and the core motivators that were driving them to be afraid of commitment.
So what was creating the karma? What was underneath creating the karma?
And they sat with it. And as is the definition of meditation, they became familiar with it. And through that intentional process, over time, they cleared it. And they are in that happy relationship, committed. So this is an example of how we can work through our karma.
Yeah, and I'd like to take this opportunity actually to bring up something that's important to understand. So, karmas can come from your childhood, from things that you've seen your parents embody and that you've simply internalized without filter, because in the first 7 years of our life, we don't have filter. We're in a hypnotic state. So whatever the parents are doing, even if it doesn't register in thought form, we internalize the energy, what is being embodied. So that's one way in which we inherit what's called childhood, karmas, or you could call them also family karmas, meaning whatever in your family, in your close family, has been modeled, has been where there has been emotional charge towards a certain area of life, or for instance, people being afraid of lacking money, or people feeling afraid of commitment, or people imagining that they need to be a certain person to be safe in the world, to have status, power, money. Well, all of that you internalize, and that becomes your karma. In addition to that, there's also ancestral karmas. So not the direct family, that's it, from other generations, things that were not resolved in the consciousness of what's called the family mind, that continues to influence you. It still resonates in your system. And then if you believe in past lives, then there's also things that you've experienced in those past lives that also continue to echo until you've understood the lesson, until you've really understood that no, this is not exact, it's not what happened. So for instance, someone can be born and they can have this irrational fear of water. Anytime that they're near a body of water, they become very afraid. They think they're going to die. And that can be related to a past life where they drowned and where they moved on to a new body. So in that situation, until the person realizes at a very deep level that they didn't actually die, yes, in that life they moved on, that said it wasn't death as they imagined it, then they continue to have that visceral feeling and emotional charge towards that which they imagine led to their death. So that's a karma. That's a past life karma. We're not conscious of them. That's the challenge sometimes with karmas, is that other than the negative thoughts, the negative emotions, the obstacles, the challenges, the discomfort that we feel, there's nothing really telling us, oh, I had this past life karma, or because we're not aware of it until we start, like Dexter said, familiarizing ourselves with all of the emotions, the feelings, the fears, the energy of it, and then maybe we become aware, oh, yeah, when I was 2 years old, dad was being really verbally not kind towards mom, and that's where I got the feeling that men are bad. Right? I've internalized, oh, look, men are bad. They're unkind towards women. So that's another karma, for instance, that we can integrate and we can internalize until we become aware of it. That said, for some people, that's not even available because maybe they don't introspect, so they don't become aware of where the energy is coming from.
So I'm going to address some questions, and then I think we'll help people work through karma. That is one of the main questions. So don't expect your karma to be resolved entirely today. It could be. It certainly could, and karmas take time. There's a reason for that. There's a lot of learning that happens as we work through karma, that if you try to take a shortcut, then you won't get all the learning, and then you won't resolve the karma. It'll come back until you learn it. And it is said in many traditions that karma, that we choose our own karma. So all those problems that we don't like, all those things we complain about in life, it is said that our soul chooses that, so that we can learn the lessons that those challenges actually offer us. You want to say something, right?
Yes, I do. Actually, this is a great story about that, because sometimes people will look at something as, oh, this is a negative karma, not realizing that actually the person chose to work through that in a lifetime. So the story is of a master healer who...
I prefer if we don't share that story.
Oh, it's not the one you think.
Okay, go ahead.
Or maybe it is. With autism?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So a master healer who was just going to different homes to help people. And in one such home, there was a child, a young child, who was autistic. And this young child couldn't speak. And, would get into very strong reactive modes where they would throw things and hit and just be very angry. And so this master healer was asked, please, can you help our child, help him, to be able to speak and to communicate with us and not to be so angry and violent. And so the master healer was known to have a lot of success with any dynamics that people were feeling, where there were limitations, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And he sat with the child and did, the various things that he did to help the child. And then after a while, nothing, quote unquote, was changing. And then he said, okay, I don't think I can help. I really don't think I can help. I'm not sure why. That's it. I'm not feeling like I have the capacity to help your child. And so the parents begged and begged and begged and said, please, please help us. We can't live like this anymore. It's really unbearable. We feel so bad, and it's such a bad karma, and we're really just suffering so much, and he's suffering so much. And so he said, okay, let me try one more thing. And so he sat with the child once again. And finally, the child spoke and said, would you please leave me alone? This is my choice. I am choosing in this lifetime to experience this. And please respect my free will. And that was it. So we can imagine that, fixing something that seemingly is bad, is a bad karma, is negative, is necessary, and we can go to length to try to fix it, and not realizing that sometimes someone can be choosing to live through a certain seemingly very difficult and challenging situations to be able to heal something, to resolve something in themselves. And in the same way, the parents too, the parents facing their fear of their shame and feeling bad for the child, and also facing the child's anger and quote unquote misbehavior. That's also part of their karma.
And I'll answer a few questions. Why have the karma of a narcissistic father and alcoholic partner who then had 11 hours of sobriety and took their own life? I'm so sorry to hear that you experienced that. And even in that, and perhaps especially in that, there's so much that the soul, that our hearts can, in essence, learn. So much. And rather than project onto your specific situation, I'll give you a metaphor, an example. A great spiritual teacher, enlightened, once said that they saw a person in India on the hot pavement, and this person had no legs and no arms. So they were a torso and a head. And every day somebody would bring them to the side of the road, put them on the road with a cup. And that person, and they would collect money in their cup. And at the end of the day, the person would come back and take them home. And this teacher, this enlightened being said, why would God why would someone exist on this earth in that way? What is that karma? And the enlightened being said, to learn to truly love themselves, to learn to truly, completely love and accept themselves and surrender. So we have arms, and most of us on this call have most of our arms and legs, and we have fancy gadgets and iPhones and computers and cars and TVs and most are stressed. Most have stress and anxiety, and most have relationship conflict, and that's okay. That's normal. That's the time we live in. And how many of us have really achieved complete self-love and acceptance? And is there, if $1 billion can't fill your heart with love, and nothing, I'd venture to say nothing feels better than inner peace and love in your heart consistently, then what is the value of the $1 billion? What is the value of the iPhones? What is the value of the arms and legs?
Of the house, the car, the successful career.
If we're not learning to really love and accept ourselves. So even in the most painful circumstances where we lose a parent, we lose a partner, lose a loved one, or we suffer a loss ourselves, and in all of those situations, there's the opportunity to utilize that experience as fuel to find inner peace, to love and accept ourselves more completely until it's all love, inner peace, and acceptance. And to answer a previous question, the question was, how do we know when we're in balance? Well, it's when you have what's called equanimity, which is to see all beings, all situations, all past and future, all experiences, all memories as equal.
So instead of the roller coaster, you're more like this.
So you have consistent inner peace. You have consistent love in your heart for yourself and all beings. That's when you know you're in balance. That's when you know you're done with the karma. You've cleared most of your karma. And for most people, truly, it takes a long time, a very, very long time. And that's not a bad thing. That's because of how wonderful the destination is. That's because of how wonderful it is to have inner peace and love in your heart for all beings and things. And that's beautiful. And that's why the suffering exists. Is to allow us to motivate us to truly, completely give ourselves to the process of love and inner peace and surrender. And if the suffering wasn't big enough, then we wouldn't be motivated. Just like if there's a tiny little rock in your shoe, you might just keep walking. And every step you take, it hurts, it hurts. But you're just going to keep walking. But now if there's a big rock in your shoe, and when you step, it's like, oh my God, that hurts. Then you're going to stop and take you off your shoe and take the rock out. And that's how karma is. It's a rock in our shoe that motivates us to stop, take a look inside, do some clearing, do some healing. So let's do some of that with the last 10 minutes.
So why don't we start with just a simple or
The self-awareness.
giving, well, the self-awareness,
Okay.
and then giving the karma to the right.
There is a quote that we mentioned in our workshop last week by a poet who's now passed, Khalil Gibran, and it is that the pain you feel is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. So that's to say that the discomfort, the challenges, the pressure, the pain that you feel in your life is a sign. It's a little message to you, and it's saying, hey, look here, pay attention, focus here, and you're going to learn something that is very precious to you.
Yeah. And if I can add, because it's quite important, like when we feel pain, the tendency, the conditioning is, oh, I shouldn't feel this. Why am I feeling this? This is bad. This is wrong. What could, what are the implications of feeling this right now, this pain? So we focus on the pain instead of, well, what's creating the pain? So the rock that Dexter was describing in the shoe, if it hurts to walk, so in your life, as a metaphor, whatever you're doing, if it hurts, then look at it. Look for the rock that's leading to the pain, that's generating the pain, and then you can be free of it permanently.
Let me look at a few comments. One is, I feel that I've experienced equanimity at times. Is it about just being in it continuously? Yes, if you want to. It is. It's about constant inner peace, constant equanimity, constant unconditional love.
And that happens as a result of you clearing your karma. So when you are at equanimity, maybe new karmas are not bubbling up. When you're at equanimity and then you waver, you go into a different state, maybe anger, maybe feeling disempowered, maybe feeling sad. Those are the karmas bubbling up and changing your state of consciousness and your state of energy, and therefore generating different thoughts and emotions. So in those moments, that's an opportunity to use one of the processes that we're going to describe to clear the karma and then to get back into a state of equanimity.
And if you're enjoying this workshop, please donate to support us and Insight Timer. And I really appreciate the comments that I'm seeing in the comment box. Alessandrina doesn't, because I don't think she can read them.
It's too small for me.
And so, yes, self-reflection is difficult for a narcissist, certainly. To a narcissist, it's almost like there's only the truth, and they know the truth, and no one else knows the truth, and there is no self to reflect on. What are you talking about? There's just truth, and they see it. So God bless them. So, and every ego has narcissistic parts. Okay, so everybody on this call probably has some narcissistic tendencies. That's part of the ego, part of the karmas that make up the ego. So,
yeah, it's not bad or wrong. It's actually a self-defense mechanism, and that's important to understand because that can give you compassion towards people who exhibit narcissistic tendencies. Again, not if you were on the call last week, instead of looking at things as, oh, this is this person, they're a narcissist. Look at patterns in people. Look at programs in people. So someone can have a narcissistic program running, and then there's a spectrum. Some just some of the time, some a lot of the time.
That doesn't mean that their soul is a narcissist. Their soul is bright. Their soul is beautiful, and that doesn't mean that we need to stay in the relationship with them or not put up boundaries. And thank you for your very generous donation again. You know who you are. So let's move into the practices. So look, your number one tool that you have for clearing your karmas is your intention and your consciousness. If you use your intention and consciousness to hold the issues that you face in life in your hand and look at them and turn them around and study them and observe your thoughts, observe your emotions, observe your desires, then you will begin to map your karmas as if it's a town that you perhaps have never been to.
Yeah, and in that regard, if I can
One
add...
second, let me finish the metaphor.
Non-judgment.
Once you see the town, once you study the town and you study all the roads, on all the alleys, then you know your way through it. You know your way through and out of it. But if it's a town you've never been to, you can get lost and you can get stuck. And like Alessandrina was saying, usually we judge our issues. We judge our problems. We try to fix them or make them go away, or deny them and suppress them. And that would be the equivalent of not getting to know the town, basically driving around the town with a blindfold. If we stop judging our problems, if we and stop even seeing them as problems, seeing all of them as karmic opportunities, then we can start to map them, we can start to see how they operate, and in that process we can use our consciousness and our intention to free ourselves from that karma.
Yeah, so if you release your judgment of your karmas or your tendencies or the ways in which things unfold in your life, then it's going to liberate a lot of energy for you to look and to explore the tendencies, the patterns, the things that are coming up, right? Karmas are tendencies and patterns that have been accumulated, stored, repeated. That's what a karma is. So when you don't judge it, you don't judge the pain, you don't react, you respond. You learn to go from reaction to response. Then you begin to free yourself from the emotional charge of the karma, because you understand it, like Dexter was describing. You map it, and then it becomes so familiar to you, and you also are so aware of the negative implications and why it's not useful to continue to operate in that way, and you see the benefits of clearing it, and then it becomes much easier to make a new choice. And by the way, saying the first practice we did, I choose to become aware of, understand, and release or resolve any karma influencing me right now. That is a process of intentionality, of you choosing that, and that will inform your whole being as to what to do when something comes up. And over time, as you repeat it, you will make new choices. Instead of reacting to your karmas, you will begin to respond to them.
And I'll briefly say that there can be many gifts in regards to being with a narcissist. One is to learn to love and accept the narcissist. Another is to learn to recognize our value and set boundaries, and learn, to value ourselves and choose to perhaps be in a relationship with someone else. Another is that they can be a mirror for our own narcissistic tendencies, and they can also teach us never to not judge anyone, and to see. And with a narcissist, I don't say this with any judgment. I say this as an equal to all beings, including narcissists. They're people too. That and like we said, everybody has narcissistic tendencies, all egos. Being with a narcissist can help someone realize that at the root of all their anger and tactics is fear. Is a child, in a sense, an inner child, a soul, and an inner child that is afraid, so afraid, and that ultimately wants to be good. So shall we use some tools? So,
yes.
So conscious intention, right? Consciousness and intention to clear karmas. That's number 1 and 2 together. And then there's tools given to us. There are tools that are available. There's mantra that can actually clear karma just through sound.
Yeah, and you can, by the way, the tools that we're going to describe right now and that we're describing, they're all on Insight Timer or on our website, so you can find them easily. You can reference them. So the Vajrasattva mantra, which is a Tibetan mantra, used in Buddhism to clear negative karmas that we personally use, and we found to be extremely effective if you're resonant with karmas. Some people are not. If you're resonant with karmas, doing a practice of Vajrasattva, the Lord of Karma in Buddhism, is extremely effective. I have a wonderful story. It's short, where I had a challenging relationship with someone, and at the time I lived in a Buddhist temple, and we went to see that person, and I went with someone who had attained very high levels of siddhi with this mantra. I was new to Buddhism and to mantra practice.
Which means that they had repeated the mantra a lot.
Yeah, right? Like millions of times. And so this person, while I was interacting with the other person who tended to be very negative and angry and judgmental and punishing, this person was reciting the mantra the whole time. And I met a new person, meaning that the person I interacted with while this gentleman was reciting the mantra was someone I had never met before. I had never had interacted with this person as positively, and they were kind and loving and gentle. And so that mantra is extremely effective. And I recommend it to anyone who is resonant with Sanskrit or Tibetan mantras. Om Vajrasattva Hong is the mantra. You can write it.
So while she writes it, I will move forward here. This process of karma, it's a physical, oftentimes an emotional and mental process, and there is some suffering in it, in life, right? I think everyone would agree that there is suffering in life.
Yes.
And
two options. So
and the physical aspects of life can be sort of crude. I mean, look, we're squeezed into this body, you know. And the body, it can run into things, it can get hurt, and we need to feed it, and there's physical and crude without judgment. It's just a fact that there's some physical crude elements of our existence, and then there's also though our higher chakras and our higher aspects of our being can connect to spirit, and we can connect to love, and we can connect to beauty, and we can connect to intuition and kindness. And so optimally, in your process of working through your karma and perhaps helping others with their karma, you can integrate those two aspects of life to see that this physical, crude, and sometimes painful existence is beautiful, because it is the process through which the lotus flower grows from the crude pond, the dirty pond, and it grows and it blossoms into this beautiful flower. And that's how, through these difficult, real world physical experiences, our hearts can open, and our upper chakras can open, and we can connect to spirit and experience deep, vulnerable connection with other beings in a world where, yes, we seem to pass on and lose the ones we love. And in that same world, we learn to appreciate. We learn to appreciate every breath. We learn to appreciate the ones we love. And really, if we could just pollute the earth forever and live forever and eat forever without getting overweight or having health issues, would we ever really learn to appreciate? And to love, and to cherish, and to care. Thank you for your comments. So, a tool, Ho'oponopono, Lord the Karma request.
I think we can do the one where we give it to the light, okay. And I'll just say that you can use the Ho'oponopono mantra.
Yes,
it's very effective. It's like one of the most beneficial tools for clearing karma, basically, within yourself and with other people, because we also have karmas with other people. We mirror Like if you have a judgment of something and someone is that, for instance, if you have a judgment of narcissism, instead of just seeing it for what it is, then you have a karma with narcissistic people. Because you're saying it's not okay for you to be the way you are. When really what they're doing is they themselves are learning through that process of narcissism to love themselves, to love others, to be in balance, to resolve their judgment and their self-centeredness.
Hypothetically, not talking about anyone in this chat specifically, not saying that you're doing that or anything like that. And to add to that, if you choose a tool, then use it. And the best tool is the one that you use. Like the best workout is the one you do. The best tool is because when you do these tools for a day, you get one result. When you do them for a year, every day for a year, you get a very different result. And it allows you to actually experience very deep experiences.
Yeah, and that, by the way, that's the same with meditations. It's great, to have many different meditations and to explore them. And when you find one that deeply resonates with you, it's kind of like the gateway, the door to going really deep, rather than, let me explore, hundreds of different meditations. Not to say that that doesn't have value, simply to say that if you have that one to-go meditation where you get into this deep, deep state, it's very, very helpful. So same thing with those tools. Choose a tool that resonates with you, that helps you get in touch with your karmas, that helps you liberate them, liberate the energy that's stored, and enjoy that process. So would you like to do the practice, baby?
No, go ahead. So again, the tools available to you are your conscious intention. And then there's there's mantras from Tibet and Buddhism and Sanskrit that you can use that are excellent. And then there's meditations, and we're going to do a meditation practice now that you can use. And then there's the Ho'oponopono practice where you say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And you direct that energy, that love, that thanks, that apology, that forgiveness, you direct it to the issue, the pain, to the person, whatever the karma is with.
Yeah, and for people who resonate with the Lords of Karma, if that's something that you feel in alignment with, there's also Lord of Karma requests that you can make when you become aware of a karma within yourself.
Yeah, you can pray to the Lords of Karma, or God if you want to, or whatever, or universe, whatever word works for you.
Okay, so?
You can, and I'll just give the prayer real quick.
Yes.
You can say...
we have it as a meditation too. It's recorded.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, on Inside Timer.
Excellent.
And if you look for karmic release or karmic healing, you'll find that prayer that is specifically addressed to the Lords of Karma.
And it just goes something like, Dear Lords of Karma, please completely clear, heal, and release any and all negative karmas associated with, and then you fill in the blank. Whatever it is for you. And then you can say, please bring this healing into the present moment, regardless of any internal or external resistance or incongruencies.
Clear any negative karma that could come as a result of this karmic request.
And please bring this healing into the present moment as you see fit with my highest and best good now. And then, amen. So that's one. That's another one, and now we're going to do the meditation.
Yeah, very short meditation, and this one is kind of like if you don't have time to do the rest, like if the other meditations are maybe they take too much time for you, or you're in a moment. Let's say you're outside in public, and it comes up. You can just do this practice to clear it as it comes up. And then you can go into one of the techniques that we described to go deeper, to really, and that's a metaphor I wanted to give that's important. Imagine if you wanted to uproot a tree, not cut it, really uproot it. You can look at karma in the same way. There might be hundreds or thousands of roots in the tree system. And so karma is the same. As you work through it, there might be different ways in which it manifests and different sources from which it has arisen. So if you remain aware as you're clearing karmas, that you might have already maybe been able to uproot 10 roots, and there's still maybe another 10 roots. And so to recognize that and not to look at it as, oh no, it's not working, I'm still in that karma, this pattern is still there, I'm still doing the same thing, when actually you've done half, you've released half of it. And it's just a matter of understanding what is the other half, what are these 10 more roots that are bringing up, this karma and continuing to hold it in place. Okay, so if you'll close your eyes, and maybe you already know a karma that you have, so a tendency, a pattern, an addiction, an aversion, an attachment, a thought, a cycling thought, or an emotion that keeps coming up in your life, or a relationship dynamic that keeps repeating. Anything that is bringing you distress, that is bringing you discomfort, just become aware of that. And as you become aware of that, become aware of how your body feels when you bring that up. Maybe you tense, maybe you start to feel anxious, or maybe you feel it in your root chakra, your pelvic floor. Maybe you feel it in your abdomen, or in the solar plexus area, or in your throat. Just pay attention to the reaction in your body as you bring up this karma. And if you're not sure, just bring up something that you'd like to clear from your life. You don't have to call it a karma, just something you want to resolve and dissolve. And while intending to remain relaxed and open in your body, and to simply observe the reactions in your body as you bring up this karma. Noticing if you feel heavy, if you feel heat or cold, tension, sensations, whatever sensation you observe, simply accepting what you feel completely. And remember that in this moment you're choosing to become aware, to understand, to become familiar with, and to resolve this karma by choice, using your own free will to clear the karma. And noticing as you become aware and become really in touch, be in touch with your intention to clear the karma, of how that affects or influences your body, your mind, your emotions. Maybe you feel lighter, maybe you feel like gentle, warmth, energy moving through your system. Noticing that. Feeling at peace with whatever comes up as you face the karma, as you accept it completely, and as you continue to intend to clear it, to free yourself from it. Tuning into the energy of gratitude, of love, for being free of the karma from your own doing, your own free will choice. Facing whatever discomfort with peace, with equanimity, knowing that it's only temporary. Realizing that you are completely safe all of the time, that you are a soul. And feeling grateful for the teachings, the learning of the karma that the karma facilitates. And if it feels too much for you, if you feel like it's too much to face it, if you'll extend your arms out, or just intend in your mind extending your arms out, and imagine that you can put the karma in your hands and you can hold it there. Even if you don't know everything about that karma, whatever it represents for you, you're holding it in your arms. And you're choosing to give it to the light. To let the light of consciousness clear it, heal it, release it from your being completely, and that you trust the light. And becoming aware of how letting the light of consciousness shine onto the karma begins to dissolve it, to resolve it completely. And as you hold the karma in the light of consciousness and it begins to deconstruct and dissolve, clear, you feel lighter, you feel brighter, you feel more peace in your heart, more love, more joy. And so bringing your hands to your heart center and noticing how you feel now compared to how you felt before. Even if it's such a small change, just notice it. And expressing your gratitude for this shift, for choosing to liberate yourself, to liberate the energy that's tied with this karma, to make that choice. And what a wonderful thing it is to surrender. What you feel you can no longer hold within yourself, what brings you pain and suffering, to surrender it to the light of consciousness. And to have faith in that light, in its complete capacity to heal, to resolve, to clear all karmas. And to realize that you're not alone facing your karma, that you have help. This is a loving, conscious process of evolution. And feeling grateful for that. And to connect to all beings and our oneness in all of our karmas that we share, or that each individually we carry, and to hold that space of consciousness where all karmas on the planet can be resolved. Our individual karmas, our collective karmas. Choosing that for yourself and holding the space of consciousness for all beings to have that experience. And in this state of gratitude, of oneness, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Let me see.
I'll add, while you're looking, simply to remember that you'll know when a karma is resolved when you are in a state of equanimity. Like, for instance, if someone had narcissistic tendencies and it used to trigger you into a state of victimhood, or feeling disempowered, or feeling unloved or uncared for, once you've resolved your part, of the equation, meaning however you feel about the narcissism, then if you see the person exhibiting narcissistic tendency, it will be no different than if they were hugging you or being kind to you and loving to you. So you will have resolved your part of it, your karma.
And keep in mind that when one person says narcissistic or a narcissist, they're thinking of one thing. When someone else says narcissist, they're thinking of another. When someone else says narcissist, they're thinking of another. So in the end, are we really even all talking about the same thing? And what are we talking about? Well, when anyone says narcissist, what they're doing is they're taking their karma and part of their karma, projecting it onto that word and then using that word. So there's everybody out there, all egos have fear, have judgment, will sometimes judge, try to control, try to punish. And
shame, guilt, judgment, punishment.
Our egos will do it, their egos will do it. And the way out is love. It's acceptance. It's creating space for each other. It's hearing each other, even when they're speaking unkindly. It's trying to hear what they're really feeling, and just that is in a way to resolve your karma. If you set the intention to be unconditionally loving and accepting of others, as best, and yourself as best as you can be. And to hopefully never judge yourself for supposedly failing to do that or anything like that. We are so grateful for all the positive comments that you're making, Alessandrina. I still can't see them.
It's my karma.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your donations. Again, they support us, our work, to make those workshops free for people who maybe can't afford them, and they support Insight Timer's incredible commitment to bringing light and love in this world, and supporting people who create meditations and things that are helpful to humanity. So thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to be doing a lot of workshops on here, like pretty much every week, maybe a little break for the holidays. So do look for us on here, and if you want to. And you want to announce the next workshop? Yeah,
the next workshop will be on January the 8th, so a Friday again at the same time, so 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we'll be talking about how to use affirmations in a way that really brings a shift in your energy.
In a conscious way.
Yes.
In a conscious way.
So there's a lot of affirmations. A lot of people actually are averse to them because they say they don't work. And we want to show you the way to make them work for you.
Yeah, and then a lot of people use affirmations and don't realize that they're actually reinforcing like non-optimal neural networks and beliefs and things like that. And so our intention is to share with you how to consciously use affirmations in a way that only reinforces the good, what you want, and doesn't reinforce any of the other stuff.
Yeah, and reprograms your subconscious mind, which is what is going to bring about the effectiveness of the affirmation. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Many blessings, and wishing you all the most love and joy and inner peace that you could possibly ever experience in your life.
And happy holidays. Thank you.
Holidays.
Bye.